This story begins where many others generally end. At the time, I worked for a detective agency known as HPD, but I couldn't know then what the acronym really meant. I don't think I ever really knew. For a few months, I'd been on the trail of the man the press not very originally renamed Blowtorch. A clue led me to the extreme outskirts of Miami, in a little out-of-the-way suburb that smelled like rotten fish.
Operator, the caller you have dialed is unavailable. Do you want to leave a message?
Bundy, knock it off. Judging from the traffic noise, I'd say you disobeyed my orders.
Hey, I just went out for a ride on my bike. What's the harm?
At 10 in the evening, I told you to stay home. The case is ours. We're already racing to the scene of the tip-off.
But the cavalry's already here, boss. Let me find one of those clues that Blowtorch left for me, and we will stop the next murder before you even divorce your third wife.
I'm on my fourth, Bundy, and I will never understand why that killer keeps leaving clues just for you.
Do you need to ask? Because I'm his archenemy, his nemesis, his worst nightmare.
More like he enjoys leaving you every time grasping a handful of air.
Oh yeah. Remind me again, old man. Who stopped the Puerto Rican surgeon and the arsonist of the southeast coast? And what about the...
All old news, Bundy. You haven't caught a break for a long time. And for months you've been following Blowtorch without any results. Why don't you go on holiday and let us do the work?
I'm in Miami, dude. Working here is a holiday.
I'm serious, Lars. Give it up.
Listen, boss. I will limit myself to a stealth approach. Identify the victim's flat, I write everything down, I smoke a cigarette, I admire the skyline, I wait for reinforcements. No shootout planned.
That would be difficult, since you never carry a gun with you.
Well, once a chick told me that the weapon at my side makes me clumsy.
Don't cause any shit, Bundy. We'll be there in a short while.
Okay. That means I have a short while to solve this case.
What did you say?
Nothing.
Bundy, don't screw things up, or I swear...
At previous crime scenes, we always found a letter addressed to me, abandoned in the mailboxes. This time, maybe, I would be able to find that letter before the crime was committed. But I had to hurry. Bikes don't have a fee to park. Or maybe they do. But I'd have canceled my own ticket anyway. An antique and horrible coin eater. I looked at the various mailboxes and found what I was looking for. An abandoned envelope with no writing or stamps. The only problem remaining was how to open the mailbox. It was equipped with a normal lock, very easy to destroy with a minimum of sheer force. Nevertheless, it was impossible to do it with my bare hands. My beloved badge. How much abuse and harassment I was able to accomplish using that simple square of fabric. Ah, those were the days. My badge wasn't exactly the right tool to wedge this open with, but it was worth a try. The only thing I accomplished was jamming the badge into the narrow crack above the mailbox. Was it really worth it? Now the mailbox was marked by my badge. Hopelessly jammed. The alley led around the building to the right. Before examining the area, though, I had to make sure I was in the right place. A Sfrizzo's vending machine. The worst cola ever tasted by a human being. The engine was working, though, although the machine wasn't active anymore. I could sense its warmth. That stuff tasted like chewing gum stuck under a desk for a month. I know that because at school I never had the money for snacks, so I picked up those. I didn't need to make the ladder come down. As much as I loved wandering around on green dart in the middle of the night, I had work to do. The door was one of those you could only open through an electric impulse. I wouldn't be able to force it open, even if it was a normal model. I've always been a washout as a burglar. I couldn't buzz the whole building without a clue. Someone left a stupid smiley on the intercom. I couldn't buzz the whole building without a clue. Someone left a stupid smiley on the intercom. I couldn't buzz the whole building without a clue. The inscription implied that J.J. Urham was stupid. I was tempted to buzz to verify. I couldn't buzz the whole building without a telephone number erased unceremoniously. It was surely the joke of some happy-go-lucky prankster. The name on the button told me absolutely nothing. I couldn't buzz the whole... The name on the button. The name on the button. The name on the... The name... A mural signed P. Gold. I saw many others like that around the city. The fire escape reached the upper floor of the building. Bikes don't have a fee to park, or maybe. Here's what the taxpayers' money was being used for. I thought it was better to leave before causing some serious damage to the sidewalk. The conditions of that sidewalk were getting worse. A stone bigger than the others just fell off the sidewalk. And who was I not to accept the kind gifts from Providence? The way it was stuck, the badge would act as a chisel. As usual, the letter was ripped and written with invisible ink. I was sure I had some Scotch tape somewhere. Well, I'd have to think about the invisible ink later. The alley led around the building to the right, before examining the... I was all out of ideas. Maybe, or maybe not. I didn't need to make the ladder come down. I was sure I had some Scotch tape somewhere. Maybe, or maybe not. My green dart. A little engineering jewel made in Italy. In addition to being marvelous, it had a handy flask on the front, which I used for basically everything. Normally I would have filled it with scotch, but I didn't want to find myself in Orlando investigating a red whale again. Like last time. Maybe there was still something useful in Green Dart's flask. Hey, there really was some scotch after all. Scotch tape, I mean. That roll of scotch tape must have got left in Green Dart's flask for years. I would have stuck the scotch tape in the back of the letter, so as to obtain the best readability. I always hated puzzles. If I have to waste time with this... I hate this stuff. Once I received a 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle as a present. I sold it to my nephew. Oh. 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 It wasn't as difficult as I feared. At that point, I just had to find a way to read the message hidden in the letter. Well, I remembered that to reveal invisible ink, you just have to warm it. Where could I find a source of heat that late at night? The vending machine's engine emitted a faint heat, maybe intense enough to show the hidden writing on the letter. At first, nothing happened. I was about to give up when it happened. The first characters appeared. The letter corresponded in every way with the ones found before. Supportive tone, an apparent desire to support the police force, then laced with a sudden temper tantrum hinting at a killing frenzy. I had to dig into this, looking for clues. The letters were always kindly addressed to me. The letters were always... Blowtorch's tone ranged from disappointment to encouragement, with a barely concealed desire for recognition. The forensic guys had no doubt about the gender of the killer just after the first murder. The reason for their certainty wasn't the accuracy of the burns, so much as the various bruises found on the bodies, which displayed extraordinary force. The usual outburst in the middle of a letter that until then seemed thoughtful and balanced. Then I saw the emoticon at the end of the paragraph. That was new. That face. In his earlier letters, Blowtorch never left anything similar. I took a mental note. That smile left on the letter and the one on the intercom were identical, so I could rule out a simple coincidence. I had just identified the apartment I was looking for. I guess Blowtorch tried to be funny at times, the only result being to appear even creepier. The last paragraph was surely hiding a clue. The murderer was even directing us to a specific profession. The initials in the last paragraph were found in the previous letter, but they were too vague a clue to narrow down the scope of the investigation. The usual closing format. Blowtorch constantly described himself as a normal citizen and a regular taxpayer. I don't know why, but that format made me mad. The apartment was registered to a certain G. Glover. I hoped I got there in time.
Yes, who is it?
I'm Detective Bundy from HPD. If you don't mind, I need to ask you some questions. He didn't answer immediately. Moments of total silence passed, during which I thought he had hung up.
Sorry for the hesitation, but I really don't understand what you would want from me. I'm just a normal citizen who...
Yes, of course, but I really need, and I mean really need, to talk to you. With a certain urgency, too. Can you open the front door?
I hate to be a killjoy, but you have a warrant. I don't want want to get into trouble with my landlord.
You know what? I guess I forgot it in my other hand. Anyway, I already told you that.
Listen, the landlord is a real pain in the ass, and I don't want any trouble.
If it's such a big deal, you won't have any problem coming back with a warrant. Good night. In my entire career, I had never been mistreated like that by someone I had to protect. Despite the fact that the guy was an idiot, I couldn't let him be killed in cold blood. Besides the front door, the only visible way in seemed to be the fire escape above. That ladder would have been the perfect way in, but it was too far. As much as I loved wandering around on green dirt in the middle, the stone was ideal for hitting the ladder's security lock. The problem was that I couldn't see it from my position. That stuff tasted like chewing gum. I know that. The stone was like the problem. Maybe. Or maybe not. Maybe in that alley, I would find alternative access to the building. In that moment, I thought of the hundreds of baseball games I'd seen while living in America, and I had a real moment of epiphany. The greatest champions in history were looking at me from the sky, cheering for me and waving their arms. Ladies and gentlemen, introducing the newest member of the Baseball Hall of Fame, Lazarus Stonearm Bundy! Give it up for the only, the incomparable, Lazarus Bundy!
Lazarus Bundy in my place. Who'd have thought it?
Here's my man. All 7'5" of a man, to be exact. Well, so much the better. If things got out of hand, he could protect me.
Lazarus Bundy, what are you doing? I still had some surprises in store for you. Instead, it's already time to put an end to our game.
Just then, I knew I misunderstood the whole situation.
Other word.
Things went down dramatically. I had no gun, as always, and I had to deal with a mastodon ready to kill his next victim. Burton would surely arrive with backup shortly after. But, how shortly? Moreover, we were convinced we had to protect the man who instead just revealed himself to be the monster we were hunting. I thought of sending a text to warn him, but I had no credit on my phone, having accidentally subscribed to a live weather service. I was in more danger than ever. But at least I knew the weather was fine in Baltimore. One thing was for sure, I couldn't wait anymore. Freeing the girl was going to be way more difficult than that. Trying to use the lamp as a makeshift weapon would have meant walking the entire length of the room twice. If I wanted to die, I could have found a more glorious method, such as jumping out naked after drawing a target on my chest. I was all out of ideas. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't see a good reason to do that. Breaking his TV would have been ecstasy, but not enough to put my neck on the line. I started to come up with something, but I couldn't completely focus. Blowtorch would have seen me as soon as he turned back. With bare hands, I would barely be able to tickle him. That beast towered over me, but a bottle in the right spot would put anyone to sleep. I had to hold my breath. The slightest noise would betray me. Never mind. I couldn't reach it in time.
What the fuck? I told you to close that sewer hole, you slut! If I hear even one more whisper, I'll be forced to use more brutal methods than usual. Is that clear?
Freeing the girl was going to be way more difficult than that. Trying to use the lamp as a makeshift weapon would have meant walking the entire length of the room twice. If I wanted to die, I could have... I just have gone from the frying pan into the fire. Change the channel, right now? I wanted to see how the movie ended. Breaking his TV would... I thought it was better to look for another solution. She was gagged and strung up like a sausage, but above all, she was busty. This further increased my desire to save her. With bare hands, I would barely be able to tickle him. I started to come up with something, but I couldn't completely focus. Better think about it. Showing her my badge would have been pointless. In her situation, she would have accepted a garbage man as her savior. A strong show of authoritative force would have pushed him to withdraw, or maybe it would have led to a beating. He already had his own, and I was short on credit. In that moment, it didn't seem to be a good solution to me. Maybe it was the right thing to do, but in that moment, I didn't realize it. I thought it was better to look for another solution. I thought maybe I could use the mobile phone to lure Blowtorch into the storage room. But how? He left the storage room open. I was all out of ideas. I just have gone from the frying pan into the fire. I started to come up with something, but I couldn't completely focus. A genuine paradox. The TV was silently showing a vintage spaghetti western. With bare hand, the beast was busy in a one-sided conversation. All he did was grumble. Apparently he became chatty only when it came time to write me letters. better think about it. In that moment, I was all out of ideas. I thought maybe I could use the mobile phone to lure Blowtorch into the storage room. But how? I thought it was better to look for another solution. I had a pretty good idea of how to distract the threatening big guy. I was desperate and in dire straits. I could do nothing but go for broke.
Look what you made me do, slut! First, I need to recover that damn phone, but I still don't know how you managed to keep from me. Then, we'll settle up. What the fuck?
Stay calm. I'll get you out of here in a split second. Hurry! Run! I'll hold him.
So let me get this straight. You put yourself on the trail of a dreadful serial killer. You eradicated me from my life and got me involved in a kidnapping case. We went up against some dangerous alchemists. We both lost our jobs. We traveled to the other side of the world. We broke into a den of murderers. Twice. You pushed me to steer straight into Satan's eyes, for crying out loud. And now, you want to stop because your bicycle is broken?
I prefer the term injured.